Then I thought, apart from score, there's just the stuff that may or may not be witnessed by the caregiver, but someone eventually will, and it is useful. So let's say I did the morning shift and I'm with the client and I watch them eat breakfast, right? And I can say, okay, they ate 75% of their breakfast, right? Oh, and then I moved them to the chair. And then they went and did an activity, and by the way, well, I'll explain what all these are in terms of a little information and stuff. We didn't shower, but if I did help them get dressed, but I didn't have enough time to help them with hygiene. So then the next person knows they better help them with hygiene. And then I registered any type of urine, any stool, and vomit. Again, those things are going to reset. Everything's going to reset right now. All the meals are going to reset. All the urine, stool, and vomit is going to reset. And the and I think the shower, clothing, hygiene will reset. But I haven't decided, or I need your input about. We don't necessarily need to reset if someone was not in the room or in the room. If they're not in the room right now, just say they're not in the room. If they're in the room, you can mark now that they're in the room. But that's what those icons mean. Because I know that some people don't do the activities, but they might get out of bed. But I think a lot of people don't get out of bed either sometimes. So then that seems to be a big deal if no one's out of bed. And then finally, all this is the output's not perfect, but basically everything is being followed. Everything, every single change, every single entry. And then there's going to be statistical analysis to see that, especially if anyone ever pushes for an event, what happened. We already know that things like no stool, no urine, too much vomiting, that needs to be signaled. But maybe there'll be a combination, a different type of increase in dependency on hygiene, or with confusion, or if you're always depressed and you didn't eat well for 3 days, maybe that means something. I actually don't know, but we should be able to capture statistically if and starting with, Kevin, what you had taught me with the stop and watch tool, we basically can use those indicators that have been proven to show that it could work the same way it did for nurses in nursing home, that it worked the same way for caregivers in assisted living. That's the start. And then after we look at stuff, we're learning, and we'll say, okay, let's test 3 other indicators. And then we'll run the statistics against those indicators. So that's kind of it. That's kind of it. And then when you're done, you stop, you confirm, you leave, and okay, I finished those 3. Now let's move on. And you can imagine that the caregiver, the supervisor, is just going to see a whole thing of like maybe 60 or 40, whatever's on the floor. Maybe the supervisor of the whole thing, that she can just see, okay, a bigger version of this. Right now, there are 60 clients to be seen, and 28 have been seen. A total hour of this, an average time of this. There's changes to Betsy Ross. What's going on there? Roman has already been seen. What kind of care was given when Roman was seen? Who saw them? Blah, 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 blah. So yeah, that's it. Does anyone want me to go back to any of the things?
One thing I just want to make sure that everybody's clear on is how the care score relates to the scheduler. So the higher level of care, right, or the higher acuity a resident is, I guess you could say, the greater weight it carries in the scheduler. So we're not going to have every caregiver assigned to, I'm just going to take an arbitrary number, 6 residents, because these 6 residents are a very different workload than this combination of 6 residents, right? So one caregiver might have fewer residents, but they're higher level of care.
Yeah. The idea is that the caregivers will feel that they didn't always get the hard ones, or And then the supervisor is going to have a better idea about how to distribute. Maybe she knows that, Sally can kind of hack it. So I'm going to give you like an extra 6. But, maybe you link that to her professional ranking and she gets, a bonus for that. Or sometimes it won't matter. I like my cousin's place is like, they just don't have enough caregivers. So it's just like 2 people on 35 and they just divide it into 2, so it doesn't really matter, but it could matter a little bit. It could help it a little bit. Yeah. That was the idea, at least.
So I have a question. With this, say I'm the second shift CNA that comes in. Can I see what first shift did for Miss Betty?
Yep. You would just open up. Oh, actually, I'll just do this one. You see how Janet Jackson hasn't been seen, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So you would just open up Janet Jackson, and then everything you see is the shift before.
Perfect. I like that.
Yeah, everything. See, you can see that. Oh, she was clothed. She and then maybe the note, doing pretty well, family visiting later, but there were changes, right? That the previous caregiver noted changes in dressing, mood, mental status, and transferring. So the next caregiver can see, like, is that true? And one thing you didn't see, which I don't have yet, but I'm realizing as I'm talking to you, I want to say what the original grooming, dressing, mobility, bathing, feeding, and toileting score was, right? What is their baseline? Just put a dot where they list, because remember, we're not in active charting. There should be no movement. I shouldn't be going every day and say, oh, I'm I shouldn't be moving, bathing around. Actually, it's not going to let me bathe. This says express status chart. But you mean, I don't want them to be doing that. Why should we have them, poor caregivers, like, be doing more analysis? Just if they notice it, they can say, yeah, I did more help with mobility than usual.
Mm-hmm. I think that'll
We
be a
also
huge
talked-
help to them to be able to see what was done on first shift, because we don't always, especially second and third and first, there's so much going on. We don't always get to do shift change.
Yeah, it'll be
people.
very useful, especially down here, don't you think, Nina? If you can see, like, oh, the person has already went and been with that, done activities, they got a shower, right? Don't give them a shower. They already have a shower. You don't need to give them a shower. We can just basically